Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Gray Area. My name's Alex, and in the house today we have DJ and producer Proper Villians. How are you doing today, man?
I'm great. I'm doing as good as you can in the freezing cold darkness of New York winter.
I was going to ask, how's the weather right now? I was just there in December, and it wasn't terrible, but that was the one weekend it was like 60 degrees.
It's like, can I curse on here?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, okay. It's what I call fucky weather. Like, it's somewhere between January 1st and like January 15th. There'll be this day and I look at my phone and it'll just say some absurd number like -2. And if anyone texts me like, hey, you want to go out this weekend? I'm just like, fuck you. Like hit me up in March. I'm writing an EP. That's it. Like,
why would anybody want to leave the house in that kind of weather? Like, and
I have no idea.
Dress for it. Like, and then when you get to the place that you're going, you're wearing all these clothes, but you don't want to be wearing all the clothes. It's going to be hot in the place where you're going. It just seems confusing.
Yeah, and I'm always like really ambiguous about coat check. Like, I just don't trust other people with my coats. Like, I'm that person who like always wears their jacket in the club.
I would suggest that I have a horrendous coat check story that I was involved in. We went through a warehouse party where the coat check got overrun way more than we anticipated, and I was like on the third shift at the coat check. By the time I got there, all of the racks were full, and there were also piles of coats with tags on them in no particular order.
Oh no!
I decided, like, hey, it's probably time to stop accepting coats, and at this point we probably have like 200 or 300 of them. And then people started asking to come get them, and it got bad. It got real bad. and for this reason, I don't suggest ever putting your coat in a coat check, because you might not see it again, or somebody else may wear it. You don't know.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, you're just like, here's a jacket. Like, it looks like it fits you. Like, this is your jacket now.
That's
like,
exactly what happened. They were like, hey, it was a burner party too. So they're like, what does your coat look like? They're like, it's the fur one.
Oh no. You're like,
are you kidding me?
Like neon pink or neon purple.
Right, exactly. The purple fur one with the big collar. Yeah, okay. We have like 50 of those. And
you handed one and they're like, no, this isn't vegan fur. And it's just
exactly. Dude, this is mink. So thanks for taking the time out to talk to us today.
Thanks for having me.
I always like to start by taking people back and like asking, what were your parents listening to when you were a kid that kind of had an influence on your musical direction in life?
Oh man, this is like a weirdly, like, I know this is supposed to be an easy question and it's a hard question because I come from like the most non-musical family.
Oh.
Yeah, like my mom she's tone deaf. Like she stuck me in like piano lessons when she was 8, and then every once in a while she would like pull out the sheet music and play the notes and you'd play like a song or whatever, and I'd be like, Ma, like F-sharp's flat, and like, you've done that 3 times, like, don't you know? And I was like 9, like I was like, even I can hear like this is just not right. And then my dad ran the laundry company in Brooklyn, so he would just get whatever like the dudes like who had the blankets on the sidewalk was selling as far as CDs. Right. So he would just come home with like Kenny Loggins, like 50 Cent, and like Enrique Iglesias. And like, that was just what he listened to. Like, there was just no filter or any like taste. He's just like, okay, this is music. I can put this in my car. Like, it's fine.
So on the one hand, you had somebody who liked music but had zero ear for it, and then you have somebody else who also liked music but was just like, I don't care what it is, I will listen to anything at all.
Yeah, just not picky. Actually, I would say the most influential was, so my parents had a record collection, and I think at like the age of like probably like 10 or 11, I was like, ooh, records, like, what are these? Like nascent, like lifelong obsession. So I started going through the record collection, and then I found, and like my mom was like super into like, like 60s, like all the Simon and Garfunkel and stuff, which is like, listening to it now, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. But like at 10, it was like, why would I care about like, Bridge Over Troubled Water? But and then like mixed in with it was just like random like Led Zeppelin and like Ozzy Osbourne and stuff. And I was just like, what is like this does not compute. Like, I know this isn't my dad's, and I know it's on my mom's. And I found out later it was my aunt's, and it just got like mixed in whenever she moved into the house or something. So my aunt had kind of like kicking taste in like 70s heavy metal, like early heavy metal.
So is that like what direction you went off in, like at that point? Like,
yeah, like in my early teens, I was like super metal and like punk kid. And then I kind of like, I got into industrial metal from that, and like 9 Inch Nails. And then I was like, oh, cool, like metal. And I was like, oh, cool, metal with keyboards. And eventually it was just like, I just like keyboards.
When did that like transition happen between, I mean, I guess 9 Inch Nails is a good transitionary point between like dance music and metal. But
yeah,
can you think of like a point when like you realize you're like, oh, it's just the keyboards and the kick drums that I like?
I mean, there was like layers to it. Like I played guitar. I was in like 2 or 3 like really, really just awful bands. And like we ended up being like an industrial metal band just because like we couldn't find a drummer.
Right.
You know, it was like that, like that early 90s, like suburban, like no one's parents lets their kid have a drum kit. So like we would just loop up like Rage Against the Machine breakbeats on a computer. And after a while I was just like, well, this computer like never shows up late to practice or stoned. Like, fuck y'all, I'm just gonna like roll with this computer. That my first concert was actually 9 Inch Nails. Like I got into them through the Broken EP, which was like they're like super heavy, like Pistons, like metal EP they put out before the Downward Spiral. And then like a week after the Downward Spiral came out, they were playing at Roseland Ballroom. And like I grew up on Long Island in Great Neck, like right outside of Queens. And we all took the train in. And then like it was funny, like a super early version of Marilyn Manson was opening for him. Like before Marilyn Manson had kind of figured it all out, like he was just wearing like weird outfits that didn't really work. And like, I don't even think they had like a full band. And then 9 Inch Nails came on and it was like, they started, and it like all the stuff they did live sounded as good as the record. And then at one point, like I found out later from like an interview, like if he gets pissed at a keyboard, if the keyboard fucks up, he just destroys the keyboard. So halfway through their set, he just like pulls this keyboard out and just like keys are flying into the audience. And I'm like, all right, whatever this is, like I have to get down with this. This is awesome.
I love that. I guess that was kind of like, I guess that's kind of a logical transition for you to going into drum and bass too. Cause
oh yeah.
Cause like it's drum and bass, and I guess now dubstep is like the metal of dance music. So where did that transition happen? Like gradually, like how did you start going to clubs? Like what was your first kind of like rave / club experience? You said you grew up in like the 90s. So I imagine like you kind of experienced the tail end of the good old days of 90s warehouse parties or early 2000 stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of blurry, which means that it was probably that as good as I remember it.
Then it was definitely a good time.
Yeah, I mean, I think like it was weird in the 90s. Like I always feel like such an old man when I say this stuff, but like there was no internet. Like you just kind of had to like know someone who knew, and they'd be like, let's go to this thing. So I think like the first attempt at clubbing was like 16 or 17. Like one of my buddies was like, let's go to Exit. And I was like, what's that? They're like, it's a club. I'm like, how do I dress? He's like, dress nice. So I put on like my full suit, like, you know, like my bar mitzvah, like suit. He's like, yeah, style it. And we went to like Exit and just like listen, like dance to like bad trance. And I did like the whole, you know, like this and everything, you know? Yeah. And then like, and I can't remember the order of this, but like after that, it was like, I think there were some like raves, like Stuck on Earth was doing a couple of raves like farther out on Long Island. Like we did one, like went to one at like the Vanderbilt where it's like this historic rock club and they just rented out. And we just like literally just tore apart this like poor iconic rock venue. Like it had carpet and people were like putting out cigarettes in the carpet and it was just totally a disaster. And then at some point, it made us to Twilo, which was like amazing. Yeah. Like we went for like their like, I think it was like their Thursday night rave night, and I saw like Weasel Boy and stuff. Now it's just like incredible. And then after that, I went to NYU, and so I would just go like I can't remember, before I went to college, I went to Concrete Jungle. I think it might have been like right like my senior year, right before I left for college. But I went to Concrete Jungle at Wetlands, which was just like insane because it was this like Monday night drum and bass party that's been running since like, I don't know, like 94 or whatever, till like only like a couple of years. They still throw them occasionally.
Well, they had a record store too, right?
That was Breakbeat Science.
Oh, Breakbeat Science, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Concrete Jungles, it's funny because like the guy Mac, like I've been going on and off to that party for like almost 15 years. Like I just like know that dude and like know his kids and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's always been the dude at the door sitting at the card table taking taking tickets and stuff. And yeah, and they used to be at the Wetlands, but like Wetlands was just like kind of insane. And then eventually it moved. It was like a couple of different venues, and then it was at Pyramid Club, which just closed over the pandemic. And I went to that for probably about 4 or 5 years. And that was like only about a 15, 20-minute walk from my house. I used to just go every Monday.
You just name checked like so many like iconic New York places.
Yeah.
So this kind of leads me to my next question. You grew up in like one of the hubs of like not just music but dance music in the world. How do you think that played into your identity as an artist?
I've never lived anywhere else, so it's hard to tell. Like, I mean, I just kind of like take this stuff for granted, like, I mean, I don't like, when I went to NYU, like, I kind of joke, I got like a minor in dance music because I would just like, I stayed at the commuter dorms that were downtown. And so in between classes, I'd have like these 2-hour breaks, and I would just go to record stores and just like listen to records before like Spotify exists. Like, you're like, oh, if like you read it, like I found these books that were called like The Rough Guide to House Music, The Rough Guide to Techno. And like there was just like no YouTube. There was no one like, here's 15, like no Spotify, the 50 greatest house like tracks ever. Like if you wanted to hear these tunes, like you found out about them through like, like Mixmag or like a little book or whatever. And then like you just have to like go to a record store and be like, hey, do you have a copy of like Mr. Fingers? Can I like listen to it? And then like, like you listen to it and like buy it or whatever. And so it was just like it was just like 4 years of just like going to every single record store in the city and just like living on dollars.
When did you start DJing? Did that lead to DJing?
I didn't really start DJing. Like I started DJing, I think like I got into it like I guess senior year of high school, and then kind of kept through college. I like not to like my like second or third year of NYU, I don't think. I don't remember what the first party was. It was like a bunch of random stuff where like at one point we threw a couple of raves. Like we just found like this art gallery that like we gave them a couple of bucks and they're like, cool, you can use this for like a night. And then we just like dragged all our turntables and cabs and like we did a couple of those at like different places, but like we would just go to like Kinko's and make like a little like flyer and then just like print it out, and we do it at like 2 o'clock in the morning and then just print out like 1,000 of them and then just jet while the dude was like not looking. And then we just stick them under like the dorm, like people's dorm room, like doors at the dorms. And like you made it like, like $6 and then like, like 300 people would come.
I love that. That sounds like my college years too. That sounds like exactly what I was doing here in Oakland and San Francisco. From like right around the same time, as a matter of fact. It was good times. How did you like so you went to college, so you logically had like inklings of like having a regular job, I'm assuming. At what point did you say, oh, I could be a full-time musician? Or I
don't know,
doing this shit?
I mean, I went to NYU for the music business program,
right,
which was super weird because I graduated in 2001, which was right when like the whole like Napster thing happened. So they're like, cool, here's like 4 years of like how the music industry works. Oh, sorry, it doesn't work. Anymore. Yeah, it doesn't work that way, and there's no jobs. Like, sorry,
What a shitty time too, because like everything just like tanked. Like the entire tech industry tanked. It hit us hard here in San Francisco too, because that's where everything was. Like I just remember a lot of people being out of work and a lot of warehouse spaces opening up because tech companies didn't exist there anymore. So you did that, and like, how did you make money like in this new world of music? Like knowing that you knew nothing, like you learned all this shit, and now it's not relevant anymore, because the music industry is now moving into like the nowhere space that it is now. Like, how did you navigate that?
I mean, it was like probably like 8 or 9 years of just like going from awful job to awful job and having no idea what I was doing. And like it seemed like for the first like 10 years of me doing this, like I had like whenever I had I would get a plan, I would be like whatever that plan was, like the music industry would just like when I was like in college, I graduated in college, it was like, oh, okay, like you want to be a drum bass DJ, you make a drum bass DJ like record, you get it signed, it comes out on vinyl, and then like you go like tour, I guess. And then by like 2014, and then like me and my old production partner, like we'd make these and like, and again, there was no, like, it was just barely, there was barely internet at that point. So like what we do is we take all our drum and bass singles. They would have the address of the record label on it. And so we would just like burn a CD and then just like, or like burn like 15, 20 CDs and then just like cold mail them to like these like random addresses in like England and then just like pray.
Right.
Yeah. And we got like one release on like a sub-label of Back to Basics. And then it was like, oh, cool. Yeah. And we were like, cool. And then like it came out and then it was in the record store for like a week and then it was just like gone. And we're like, okay, cool. That didn't do anything. I guess we do this again. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
That's what a strange time. I mean, compared to things now, which do you prefer? I mean, granted, now you're in a position where you send demos to labels and you get responses, but you know, there's a lot of the same kind of thing where you send an email off into the ether and nobody ever responds and you have no idea whether it got listened to. Much in the same way as you were sending off CDs into the ether through the mail and waiting for a mail response, like somebody just,
I mean, we would get like an email back.
Yeah.
Like, and then at one point, like, I think one of the guys were like one of the labels was like, hey, we don't want to sign this, but like, you kind of sound like you have potential. Like, here's our like AOL Instant Messenger, and you can just like send the MP3. And we're like, huzzah! Because it would cost us like $10, like a CD to like mail this. Like we were spending like an entire like, you know, like all of our grocery money for the week just to send out a batch of demos like every 6 months or whatever it was.
That's such a great, I love that. I love that, like, you know, like to hear how much more difficult it was back in the day, but also, you know, kind of thinking about like, there's like this period of like waiting. That period of waiting never changes. Like everybody like, sends their records off into the ether and you don't know, like you have no idea what's going to happen. Is anybody going to respond to this? And when they do, is it going to be a yes? Is it going to be a no? Am I going to get a response? So you've always like, you seem like you've jumped between genres quite a bit. You did drum and bass like in your early days. You had a period where you were doing a lot of dubstep. And dubstep was still like dubby. And then you moved into like, you've done like electro breaks and now house music. What's behind all of these changes? Like, is it because you don't care about what you make as much, or you just like sit down, you just start making music and see what happens?
I mean, it's like a combination of just like, I kind of make, like, if you saw my hard drive, you'd be like, Jesus Christ, like, wow, you don't seem that, it doesn't seem that jumpy compared to like what actually gets made. Like, I mean, it was a combination of like, I mean, even when I was doing drum and bass, I did a couple of house like back in like the like early 2000s. Like I did a couple of house records that did come out. Like if you go all the way back in the Beatport, you can see like a couple of buddies like put out like some house EPs. And then in between like the drum and bass and like the like dubstep stuff, there was like a bunch of kind of like electro housey type of like, and like some kind of funky house stuff. Like it was weird. Like right around like 2008, like everything changed. And like, yeah, like I just like, I was on the like the Mad Decent forum, like the Holotronics board. Yeah. And so I would just like make, so like I would just make like edits and like songs and stuff. And like I posted like a random electro house like song, and like DJ HE.SHE.THEY from the Black Ghost was like, hey, this is awesome. Can we use this on a mix CD? And I was like, sure, yes, awesome. You know, like, and then like the I think what was it? Fatboy Slim's label.
What? Oh shit.
Southern Fried.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, so the A&R hit me up. They're like, cool, here's the paperwork. And I was like, by the way, like, this is just a thing that exists on the internet. You want to like put this out? They're like, yeah, do you have like 2 more? And I was like, sure. And then I was like, cool. I was like signed to Fatboy Slim's label. And I was like, I don't understand how this is so much easier all of a sudden, but like, I'm just going to roll with this, you know?
Right. Well, that was such an interesting ecosystem because that's kind of like around the Bloghouse era too. Like having forums really opened up so many more avenues to you being able to connect to people. Because you were in direct connection with all of these people all at once. And I guess the same could be said for social media, but it seems like you're a little bit you're a little bit removed from them, because a lot of social media is like, there's so much performative stuff on social media. It wasn't that way with message boards. Do you feel like something was lost in dance music as a result of like social media becoming like the dominant way of us communicating?
Yeah, I mean, the thing, especially with like the forums, is like I was on a couple of them, and it was like you had to find it, you know, like there was like a breakbeat science message board, and it was like everyone who was on in New York drum bass was just like on this thing, and so like we were on it, and then we'd like go hang out at, like the clubs like over the weekend, and it was like your buddies, and like there were DJs on there, there were fans and stuff, but it was like a little ecosystem.
Yeah.
Whereas now, like if you look on Twitter, like it's like the entire pond is just there, and people get too caught up in like, oh, if I just like I want to be a famous DJ, if I just like tweet at this famous DJ and beat him to death with my tweets, eventually like he'll notice me and like put me on or something. And it wasn't like that at all, you know? Like, yeah, like Hollertronics has had like a little like, here's your production, like put your dinky production up, and like everyone would go through everyone's dinky production, because like, you know, like it had a really like there were just like really talented people on there, you know? Right. And I remember like I think it was like 2004 or 2005, like I was playing like a New Year's party at like a random burners New Year's party at like a loft.
Yeah.
And like the day before, everyone just post all of your edits in the year that you haven't given out. And like everyone did. It was like this 20-page thread of just like the awesomest edits of like, and like Be More mashups and like everything. And I just downloaded all of them and like just crushed the New Year's party. And I was like, this is like how music should be shared. Like, this is awesome.
I love that. That. And then on the other side, you know, on, I guess the career side, you've done quite a bit of like music for like other things like video games and movies and television shows. How do you work your way into, you know, that side where, you know, you're seeing a little bit more consistent money and you're getting like booked to do other things inside of music and maybe exercising other parts of your musical brain?
It was like a random homie probably about 7 or 8 years ago. Like he mentioned like he'd work with a library company, and I was like, well, what's that? And he's like, oh yeah, like you just give them beats and then like they put them in like TV commercials or like, you know, random stuff, and they just give you money. I was like, that's awesome, because I have like 5 billion unused beats. And so I hit them up and they're like, oh, okay, cool. Like here, like try doing this and like do 2 minutes of like, I think it was like, we're doing movie trailer music. Do like kind of like epic electro house. And I was like, here. And they're like, okay, that doesn't suck. Like, and then they would just give us like, be like, hey, we're doing an album this, like, do you want to do this? And like, I would just say yes, just to say yes, just to like do it. And so it got me to do like a lot of different stuff that I wouldn't have thought of doing, which was cool. I mean, it definitely taught me like a ton. Like, it's weird. And I'm working on rectifying this. I'm not sure it's going to happen this year, but like, I've never done an artist album, but I've probably done about like 5 or 6 albums that are just licensing albums that just don't like to have like my legal name on them and aren't like a proper Villains thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's something you're hoping to like fix in the near future. It's
weird. It's been so long and I've never done an album. Every time I think about it, I'm just like, oh God, this does my head in. Like, like how do I even approach this? You know?
Right. Absolutely. You took a short break from production between like 2015 and 2018.
That was doing the music licensing. That was like, oh yeah, like I did. Bye everybody, I'm gonna go make like 6 albums. And it was
what brought you back?
It's relatively lucrative. There's no glory, you know, like you hang out with your homies and like, what did you do today? Well, I did this fake David Guetta knockoff for an Absolute commercial. And like, that's cool, you know. And like I did it for a while just because I'd gotten like bass music kind of jumped the shark, you know, right. And it was like 100%. Not fun. Like I got into dubstep in that weird period in like 2011 or so where it was like super fun. It was like, oh, like this is new. Like we don't have I don't have any idea to do this. No one has any idea to do this. Like we're all just kind of like, yo, my homie said that like Skrillex put sausage fattener on his master bus. Okay, we're just gonna put like sausage fattener on a master bus. And I guess that works. And like, that was just kind of like how it was. It was just kind of like punk and fun. And then it just became like, hey, how do we make this like even more and more aggressive and like heavy metalish. And I was like, this is like too much, you know?
There's always this beautiful beginning of a trend in dance music where nobody cares how you do what you do. It's just fun because everybody's making weird sounds and everybody's like, yay, fun noises. And then you know, this happened at like the beginning of the tech house craze that we're seeing right now. Like 4 years ago, everybody's like, let's make everything asymmetrical and have a rolling bass line under it and then just throw weird noises on top of it. And now it's like, okay, now everybody's doing the same thing. And it's beautiful at the beginning and then it gets like played out, but I still love that beginning part. And I like dubstep did that and like electro house did the same thing. It'll be interesting to see what's next. So when you came back to dance music and started producing again, it was just the glory. Like, what did you decide you wanted to do then? Like, I
just wanted to get back into DJing, and like I wanted, and like I said before, the dubstep thing just kind of happened. Like I made like one dubstep remix, and it just like blew up on Hype Machine, and then I was like, oh, and then people were like, hey, do you want to come DJ dubstep? And I'm like, okay, yes, I would love to do. Yeah, I mean, like when you say the position, you're like, well, I like to DJ in front of people. And like these people want me to DJ in front of them. Okay, like I guess I'm doing this, you know? Yeah. And like my good friend Reed Speed, she runs Play Me Records, and this was like, she's the greatest human on earth. Really and it was like, and it was right when Play Me was popping off, and so like I called up Reed, I'm like, Reed, like my dubstep remix popped off. Like, what do I do? And she's like, oh, I got you. And then like I was over at her place in like LA at one point, and she's like, here, and just hands me like a thumb drive of like every unreleased Play Me song for like the next year and a half. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, got all the joints, like have the hit remix, like let's just go do this, you know?
Go. That's fucking awesome. When you jumped into like house music more more frequently, was it a similar feeling of like, this is fun, this is new, let's just see where this goes?
Yeah, I mean, like right before the dubstep thing happened, like I'd been doing electro house, and I was like, oh, okay, like this is like the more refined version of this. Like a lot of the first tech house songs I put out was like I was using dubstep patches, but I would just turn like you know, all the dubstep patches had like 15 effects on, so I would just turn it down to like one effect, and I'd be like, oh, okay, cool. This is like the grown ass version of like what I was doing before.
Yes, the button up version of dubstep. Yeah, the four beats.
Yeah.
Another thing you took a break from for a really long time was rollerblading.
Who told you? You saw this on my you saw my Instagram stories. Yeah.
Yes. Was that like a pandemic thing to start again?
It was like really all right. So we have to backtrack back to high school.
Okay.
So my town, Great Neck, Long Island, is only 6 miles wide. And I was 16, and I am not coordinated to skateboard anywhere. Like I tried skateboarding. It was like, I've got a lot of scar tissue from attempting that.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a car at the time. So I bought rollerblades, and I was like, oh, okay, this is strapped to my feet. I can do this. And it was good because like a couple of my friends had cars, but they're not going to like go to your house and like pick your ass up. Like when I was over at their place, like I get a ride wherever we're going. So like rollerblades was like my way to get across town. And I got like pretty good. Like, you know, I can like jump and stuff. I can go like really fast and whatnot. And then like also it's like, you know, you drive to somebody's little house party or whatever. And then it's like, you know, 2:00 in the morning, your friend left the car. Okay, like even like the other edge of town is only 6 miles. Like I can do this kind of drunk in the dark, like no problem. And then I got my car at like 17, 18, and I like took the rollerblades and just like threw them in the closet. It's like never again. Until last year. And then I was visiting my brother in Arizona, and we went to a thrift shop, and there was just a pair of K2s like sitting there, and they were $15. And I was just like, ooh, okay, yeah, we're gonna do this. And I just like bought them. And then it was funny, I took them to the counter, and they're like, they're not $15. And I'm like, what? They're like, it's 15 a piece. I was like, they're $30. They're like these like super nice $400 rollerblades.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, here you go. Like this is fine. And like put new wheels, put new bearings on them, and just like, you know, go like rollerblading around the neighborhood and stuff.
That's so cool. I do want to like try to understand the idea between not being able to skateboard but being able to strap wheels onto your feet and do that, because for me it's the opposite. I am definitely afraid of having anything strapped on. Like
Yeah.
skis, a snowboard, any wheels strapped onto my feet, bad news. But if I can
Yeah.
bail out of it, then I'm good to go.
See, I skied from a very young age. My parents,
Oh.
like Jewish parents were like, oh, you have to learn to ski. This is like something that like rich white folks do. Like, you need to know how to do this just in case, you know, like upward mobility.
Just in case you're hanging out with a bunch of other rich white folks and they asked you to
Yeah.
go skiing.
Yeah, like just in case you're hanging out at like the WASP party, like you got to know how to ski. So
Right.
they put me at like lessons when I was like 5. And like that's the best time to take lessons, because when you're 5, if you fall on a mountain, it just like, you know, and you just slide and you get back up. Like, yeah, like it's learning how to ski as an adult that'll kill your ass.
Oh, that was my problem then.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going back to that. But I'm
No.
I'm done. I'm done with snow sports. I don't fuck with the cold anymore. I want to talk about the fact that you worked with HE.SHE.THEY last year.
Yeah.
Which is like, for those who don't know, it's like an incredible music events and fashion brand that's really doing the work in terms of inclusivity. What was it like to work with them, and how do you see like brands like that moving the conversation for inclusivity forward in dance music?
Oh boy, that's a mouthful. I mean, I gotta do the whole story of like the Motherland saga. Like, yeah. I mean, that was just like me and Cakes' like 2 pandemic EPs. Like the first one was with Classic,
right?
And like the first EP, I think we did that in like a month. Like it was just sort of like right when COVID started. I was like, oh God, what are we gonna do with ourselves? And I was like, hey, you want to make like an EP? He's like, okay. So like, I sent him like he came over one day. And I played him about 40 different beats of just like random tech house stuff. And he was like, no. Like, John, why are you doing this to me? And then like the last one was like, I think it was called like Todd Taylor Experiment. And he's like, okay, yeah, this, make me like 5 more of these. And I was like really? Okay. And then like we recorded it, stuck Don on Bandcamp, and it just like, and then we're like, oh, okay, we guess we got to find a label. So we put out the first EP with Classics. And that was like, it felt really successful, but it felt also like weird that like it was like our thing wasn't our thing anymore. It was like this big label, and there's like way too many people CC'd on emails, and like and we don't find out about stuff until like a month later.
Right.
And so when we did the second EP, my manager was like, hey, what about HE.SHE.THEY? And I was like, I've never heard of them. He's like, here's their deck. And I was like, this is awesome. Whatever this is, whenever things open up, I've got to play at this party. This looks fucking lit. Yeah. And so like we met them. They were super cool. We put out the EP with them, and like it did really well, and I like awesome times all around. As far as like them moving forward, I really like what they're doing as far as like, I guess there's like some people like what they're doing feels new, and to me it just feels like when I used to go to the Limelight. Like it's just like, oh hey, like this is a party. Like parties are supposed to be weird and dangerous, and like people who don't normally interact are supposed to interact. Like that to me is like a good party, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, all the weird kids, when I first started going to parties, the reason I was going there is because I didn't fit in anywhere else. And all the other weird kids that were doing like musical theater at school or other, you know, nerd shit, were also there too. So, you know, it's nice to see people out there kind of bringing that spirit back to dance music, that kind of like old school rave vibe, because I think it's something that we need, especially after the pandemic. It's, you know, it makes it feel like a community again, like makes it feel like less like, I mean, it's still a business, we're never going to get rid of that, but it definitely makes us feel like a scene again, like there's still something like cool / uncool about what we're doing, and that's okay.
I mean, it's just it's still weird to me that this stuff's cool. Like when I got a DJ, it wasn't like, oh, being a DJ is super cool. It was like, oh no, you're the dude who wears like doofy pants and like a baseball cap, and like you kind of sit in the corner and just like do the music, you know? Yeah.
All these inside kids doing inside kid stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And it was always like good parties in New York have always just been like this weird thing where it's like several tribes come together. Like I remember my good friend Jubilee and Catch Dubs and more of acquaintance airs, but like also like kind of a music industry homie. They used to throw this party called Flashing Lights, which was kind of like a hipster like blog house kind of dance party.
Yeah.
And I remember like the best one I went to was like 5 random Jersey Guidos just showed up. Like, and like, you know, and like full on like Polly D, like spiked hair, like glow sticks and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. Like they just brought like this amazing vibe because everyone was being like hipster and being like, oh, we're cool, we're listening to cool records. And they're just like, yo, this is awesome, bro. Yo, check it out. And it was just like, oh, okay, we can't take ourselves seriously anymore, you know? But it's like I wouldn't want to go to a whole party of that, you know. But like it's like when you get these like different people kind of interacting, it's like it just makes things more fun, you know.
That's like was always the best part is when something even newer and weirder hopped into this to the picture. You were like, oh, this is awesome, and they love it. I can't even be mad at that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember there was when I used to go to drum and bass parties, like the Saturday Night Direct Drive. There was like these 3 Hasidic guys who would show up like every week and just like rip it, like just like balls out on Molly, and it was like, oh yeah, those are Hasidic guys, like those are homies, you know, like.
I love that. And this kind of like leads me to the next thing that I want to talk about is you working with Quarter. And Quarter's like a good friend of Gray Areas. I interviewed her. I actually interviewed her the day I moved into this apartment I'm in right now. None of this was behind me. Everything behind the camera was in boxes. I was the only person in the apartment because the apartment wasn't even livable yet. But she was just like the best person to talk to. How did you end up working with her?
Well, I met her through we share the same manager, Alex,
right?
Other Alex, and we just kind of hung out. I went to a couple of her shows, and then when she finished the album, she was like, "Hey, you want to remix this?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, give me the weird choir one." I'm like, "I'm gonna do that one."
And how did you how did you develop that remix?
I mean, to be really truthful, like I spent like one day on it, and like I got the weird string crazy drop thing, and then like the intro thing, and then was like, this is awesome, but I got to work on this other tune. Completely forgot about it. And then a month later, she's like, hey, so is that remix done? We need like 2 days. And I was like, oh shit. And then just like 3 days later, I was just like all day, just like working on it.
When you work on a remix, how often do you find yourself going back to the source material to listen to it, to like inform where you're taking it? Or do you find yourself saying, I am going to do something completely different and kind of turn this into something of my own completely?
I mean, I like to try to take like the best parts of it. Like that's why I wanted the interlude, because I was like, oh, like what I really like about this is that like this is just an interlude. There's no beats or anything.
Right.
Like it's just kind of like this. Like she, I asked her about it. She recorded it in like it was like a church. She just like took a field recorder and recorded like a choir. And I was like, what? Like this is awesome. Like where is this sample from? And then like at day 3 of like the oh shit this is due, I remember like texting her like do you have the original sample? And she's like, no, this is the original sample. Like I ought to record it. Like I'm like, how do I work this? And she's like, oh. I'm like, okay, cool. Like I guess I'll just like this is how it's gonna work. You know.
I love that came together from like such a strange place too. That, you know, that was just like found sound out in the world. So we're getting close to the end, and I always like to wrap before we start the speed round, which is a set of random questions I have not briefed you on before. I always like to wrap things up by asking what excites you about the future of dance music.
I mean, just finding new sounds. Like, I mean, I'm just always. I mean, compared to when I started this, like back in the day, like I had like I think it was like a super early version of like Sony Acid and like four drum loops. Like I'm just still like, wow, like I have a computer, and if like I press enough buttons, you can make this song where like people lose their minds. Like it still amazes me that you need like this is possible. Like you don't need a band or anything. Like you can just do this and like express yourself that way, you know?
Beautifully said. And one more question. Can you name a song that was influential to your development as an artist in house music or in dance music?
house music or dance music? One song.
One
Can I do like 5?
Oh my god, absolutely. Give them to me.
Okay, let me think.
If anyone were CNC Music Factory, it's cool, dude.
Oh, all right. Oh, we gotta go. All right. Like, if we're gonna go super early John, like that back when I was like in middle school, like it'd have to be like, all right. Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, Good Vibrations is the hottest instrumental on a really cheesy song of all time. Any CNC Music Factory from that era. Heavy D and the Boys, Now That I Find Love.
Oh, like
yeah, like the me and Cakes' 2 EPs did not come out of nowhere. Like I have this like utter soft spot for like any like WKTU like early 90s like hip house. It was probably like my first dance music. I didn't even realize I listened to so much of it until like I started kind of like going back like digging for that stuff.
Interesting. I love that.
Oh wait, last one would be Stevie B, Dirty Cash.
Anything by Stevie B is awesome.
Yeah.
All right, those were fucking fantastic. Thank you for like going way off the beaten path too, and like throwing out some wild cards. Like you kind of took me back to my own childhood, because like we grew up at the same time, and I forgot about Andy and the Boys, like, and how much I used to listen to so much of their music too. Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so you ready for a speed round?
Let's do a speed round.
All right, here we go. Pizza or sandwiches?
Pizza.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
What's something fun you've learned in the last week?
How to make Ethiopian injera bread.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh man, win. Oh, you're a winner. That's awesome.
Thank you. I got really into cooking over the pandemic.
I love that. What unusual superpower would you like to have? You can't pick flight or invisibility.
Oh, that's easy. The ability to eat any carb like at all and have it have like no ill effects.
That's a good one. I'm gonna steal that. I want that superpower too.
Yeah, just the superpower to eat total trash with no repercussions.
I love it.
Yeah.
What's your hidden talent?
Hold on, take the gum out for this one. Wait a second.
Yeah. Okay. let me correct myself real fast here. Okay, I'm good. Would you rather be forced to sing along or dance to every single song you hear for the rest of your life?
Sing along. I feel like bad singing is more forgivable than bad dancing.
100%. All right.
Yeah.
House or techno?
I would have said last year house, but this year techno. I've been on like a big techno kick. I'm like working on all techno.
You and everybody else.
Techno
is killing it this year.
Yeah.
Yes. Electro, not electro house, electro.
Yeah.
Or drum and bass.
Oh, drum bass.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, I know.
Festival or club?
Club.
Club or rave?
Ooh, depends on the rave, but it would probably end up leaning on rave. It was a really good rave. If we're talking like really good club versus really good rave, really good rave.
Okay. Finish this sentence. House music is?
House is a feeling.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Perfectly said. Thank you so much for taking the time out to speak to us today. That was a lot of fun. And yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me. This was really fun.